So one thing I wanted to bring up right away was that John described The Last Frontier as a love letter to the 90s summer blockbuster. So
Yeah.
were there any particular past films or characters from those kinds of movies that you found yourself inspired by for this?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I'll first of all reach back to say the French Connection. John keeps saying the 90s, but I loved, Hackman in the French Connection, Those were something I looked at. So I looked at some of the Jimmy Stewart movies. I looked at a lot of the old Unforgiven, Clint Eastwood, The Outlaw Josie Wales, a lot of the spaghetti westerns, big close-ups, and then bad dudes unleashing some crazy shit. Um, you know, there were those in the 90s, the big action movies. Look, I always loved I love the Schwarzenegger movies, Conan the Barbarian. I was a little boy in Australia. I mean, that was probably the 80s. I'm probably giving away more than I should. And all the Star Wars movies. There was something about Jaws, 70s, but, these big films that delivered these epic stories,
Mhm.
that had, stuff you'd never seen before, really cool sequences of action, and then great heart. I mean, Jaws is the 70s, but you go from that shark to that story, where Robert Shaw's sitting around telling, how the Indianapolis tale. And it was like, that's what I grew up. That's what I made my bones on, and these are the actors that I saw. And I think John's done a great job and sells himself a little short with, yes, there's plenty of action, but there's tons of heart. There's some great
Mhm.
scenes in this, you know, and, and,
Speaking of
and,
great
and,
scenes, I
and
want to shout out to that Seven homage in episode 2. Your face is perfect when you come up in that ending. I
Well,
was like,
thank
oh
you.
man,
Boom.
that's
I mean, dude, you got to deliver there, didn't you? I had to sit down
yeah,
and watch that one again. I thought, man, I gotta go there because, Morgan Freeman throws it down and so does Pitt.
yeah,
It's just
yeah.
like, yeah,
You did
but boom, I
awesome, dude.
love
It was
that.
great. I love that scene. You've played a lot of morally gray commanding figures. From Zero Dark 30 to Oppenheimer. How did Frank differ in the from those in terms of like leadership and doubt and everything?
Yeah, great. I mean, it was more steering a steadier line. And I love that, if you look at that as a radar, Frank was more on the other side, the better side, of these morally questionable things. But it was, so, to play that Jimmy Stewart, that down the line good man with some hard things going on around him, but also to make it so that, you want people, and people have to like Frank, in this story. They have to want to go with Frank and understand him. And but I wanted it to felt like it was earned. You know what I mean? Everything was earned.
Yeah,
Every
yeah.
victory, every battle was earned. It wasn't simple. He wasn't, the hardest puncher, the fastest gun, the slickest dude. He was a man that earned his lumps, and got up more than he got knocked down.
Yeah.
And that's something I think we can all appreciate.
No, I think I really enjoy your connection to Jimmy Stewart in that way. I mean, he just feels like a good old fashioned dude. You know what I
Straight
mean?
up, mate. I
Yeah.
mean, I watched a lot of those old movies too. The Wind one, the legal one with the black and
Oh,
white, the Wind.
Mr.
What's
Washington, or not Mr. Washington,
No, not Mr.
Mr. Smith Goes
Washington.
to Washington. Is that?
Something Against the Wind. It was two lawyers,
Oh,
very famous. I forget his name. I watched the old Jimmy Stewart movies. Like I said, I went back to the Clint Eastwoods. Watch these keeping it straight dudes.
yeah, yeah.
Because often, I'm playing much more complicated, animated figures or
Well,
characters.
to that point, I wanted to ask. I mean, you have a ton of experience playing, both fictional characters and real people.
Yeah.
Do you find one more challenging than the other for any particular reason?
Look, Frank was challenging because it was like there was nowhere to hide behind.
Mhm.
And I couldn't, I kept thinking about, I don't want to compare myself as an actor, but I love Daniel Day-Lewis. And his performance is like, he's always these amazing, wild, crazy characters from My Left Foot, to Bill the Butcher. But if you look at his Michael Mann, Last of the Mohicans, that's Daniel at his rawest, at his straight up leading man, even though he's still playing the woodsman and everything else. But that's his rawest. And it's hard. Frank's confronting in that way. You've just got to. There's no character to put. There is a character there, but you build it rather than put it on or find it. Whereas some of the other characters, if I've got a fancy a wig, or like in the Murdoch one coming up, I put on weight. There's red hair. You're putting your character on, and it's the other thing with playing real people. You got to do your due diligence. I
Mhm.
played Rob Hall in Everest. I played Alec Murdoch here. I played Ted Kennedy. You got to, sometimes you got to be careful about, just doing justice to the story. And Jerry West, there's things it's a fine line to walk there because
Yeah,
you want to show
totally.
respect, but also you got to play what the story is and what you're telling.
Absolutely. Sir, such a great honor to get to meet and talk with you, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much for
mate.
your time today.
Thank you, man. I love that Star Wars poster there
Thank you,
on
dude. I
your left. My
appreciate that.
boys
See
would
you
love
soon,
that.
man. First off, I love the show. I was just telling John that I saw the first 2 episodes and then I stopped it because this is something that my 18-year-old son would also like to watch with me. So we're going to go back and rewatch the whole thing together. So thank you very much for your time.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Also, Dominic, can I just say, you're rocking that sweater in episode 2. The older I get, the more I appreciate a good sweater, let me tell you.
No, come on.
Well,
You're the
all your
first
clothes
person
are
to mention...
hand-me-downs, aren't they, from Frank?
Yeah, I mean, I had a really bad... I mean, you're being sarcastic, but
No,
mean,
I'm not. Look what I'm wearing right now. I have a cardigan
No, but
on.
listen, that's a nice cardi. That's a cool cardi. Men of our age should wear cardis like that. The jumper that you're referring to, the sweater, is quite something. Now, but I had no choice. I had to wear oversized, large things like that. But I'm glad you like it.
No, I thought it was great. I thought you really pulled it off.
I
man.
like that you picked up on the sweater.
Well, it's so unlike. It's so
I
unlike
like
as
those
someone a
details.
guy. It's unlike a guy who's
No, guys are always,
the
women are always looking at what women are wearing, and men are always looking at
Okay.
what men are wearing.
It's a nice sweater.
Well, I'm married, so I only look at what men are wearing. Because I'm a good husband. Now, I want to say, I was just talking to John. He really described The Last Frontier as like a love letter to the 90s summer blockbuster. So, were there any particular past films or characters from those kinds of movies that you both found yourselves inspired by for this?
Mission Impossible, but also Night of the Condor. I know that's not a 90s throwback, but I love this this genre and how it's the kind of paranoid thriller aspects of Night of the Condor, and then you're dealing with the CIA and these secret services and then also you get the exciting dynamic of the physical aspect of the show, which is so extraordinary thanks to Sam Hargrave and his incredible stunts team.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Dominic?
I'm not going to say what I said before, but I stand by it. But I was so wrong because I remember John reacting to it because I was like, I just want to play him a bit sort of fun and because he does a lot of work on the radio. He's often on the radio, and I'm not in situations, so I wanted to kind of put some humour into him. I often thought of Bruce Willis in Die Hard, but that was wrong, and then I that was very wrong. I remember John's reaction, but I do remember. I remember when the Bourne. It was the first one. Ultimate was it? So no. What was the first one? The first Bourne.
Identity.
I love
Identity.
I love.
And it came
that
at a
first
time
one.
when James Bond was kind of full. James Bond was so wonderful because it goes up and down and it finds itself again. But at that time, Bourne came out and it completely changed the idea and concept of that world with the camera operation and him. I thought he was so still and brilliant and unaffected and unaffecting. And I thought. And that's kind of, I wanted Havelock to be like that. I'm not sure I achieved it, but I always had that in mind. But what the wealth of information that I could play with that character, I had already. So I didn't really need to think about another. I had the future of him, the past. John had written such a rich identity for this person, and I could talk to him about who he was. But it was interesting to try and find out what world we were living in, all of us. And it's the first time ever I felt in such safe hands with our showrunner, knowing exactly what that was.
To that point, I want to say that the opening crash really sets the tone.
Wow.
Dominic, I want to know, what do you remember most about filming it? And were there any moments where you thought, wow, this is just way bigger than a TV show. This is awesome.
That's exactly what I felt. I remember distinctly going over the brow of a hill and hitting this field in a very special part of Canada, actually, with a rich history that the land that we were on had.
Was that in Quebec?
Yes. And there was a Boeing 747 in the field. I was like, "Are you joking? This is insane! It's covered in snow, on fire. It was unlike anything I'd seen. And I really did feel, because I've noticed budgets are getting less and less, the size of the scale of things, technology is meaning that we're in front of curved blue screens or
Nothing
curved
is real.
LED
You don't know,
screens.
everything you're looking at isn't real, and everything in the last frontier.
To see it and to climb through the wreckage. And it was quite frightening. I had to climb through the cockpit. And it certainly made me think about flying again. I was like, we don't survive this. You see what the destruction of a plane. And it was, and then to be working, as you said, with Sam on absolutely magically choreographed stunt sequences in a real plane. I was like, this is a movie, and I can't believe the outcome. It's the most exhilarating, exciting pilot I've ever seen of anything, and I'm in it.
That's so cool. Yeah, no, that opening scene is incredible. Haley, I wanted to know, since Sydney is the one who trained Havelock, did you see her more as a mentor, sort of haunted by her own mistakes, or maybe more as someone who's just trying to regain control of the situation?
I think Sydney is. Sydney is a lot of things. She's somebody who seems to be in control, and then as the series goes on, you realize how out of control she is and that she feels, and she's so desperately, trying to hold on to her truth and her quest, but at the same time, she also realizes that her choices have catastrophic have. Ooh, how do I say this without? It's difficult to talk about because I don't want to give anything away.
Yeah, for sure.
But her secrets are, the engine to the series.
Look, as soon as somebody's pouring vodka into a Sprite bottle, they got secrets.
So good,
right away.
So clever.
Sydney has a lot of problems, and we watch her navigate those problems. Through the series.
Now, Dominic, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about this, but John Slattery makes an appearance in the show. So I wanted to ask if the two of you had any sort of conversations about the fact that you're both basically Tony Stark's dad.
Do you know, I've realised that, and you just found that out. But
I've never seen Captain America. There's Captain America. Right?
It's funny. I do really want to talk to him because I love him as that Mad Men. I used to just be obsessed with, and annoyingly. When I was doing the end of Captain America, I was told about being in an Avengers in the future. It didn't end up being me, it was him. So I kind of either want to arm wrestle him or discuss why, who gets to choose. That should have been me, shouldn't it? Because that's my era, isn't it? Wasn't it meant to be? And so they made him look younger. Why didn't they make me look older? But he's a better actor, so that's and he was in the and he wasn't he originally him. He's the original, isn't he?
I think
or
so.
Am I the original?
I missed you in that scene, to be honest. Because John not here right now.
I don't know who's the original. Was John
I think it was, I think it was
Captain
John.
America was first though, right? Well, he would have been in Iron Man.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Anyway, maybe he pulled up in Civil War. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Robert Downey Jr.
I'm his dad.
One last question for you guys. I want to say, one thing I wanted to tell you, Dominic, was how much I loved Preacher and had such a good ending, and it got me thinking about how a lot of shows' legacies live and die by the way they end. So I want to know, how do you guys feel about The Last Frontier's ending this season, and how rewarding is it to be a part of a show that gets such a definitive ending like Preacher?
Well, did you think it had a definitive ending? I thought Preacher had the most incredible first season in a town, and then it sort of went on a tangent. I think it's very hard to keep a show grounded. It's very hard to what they're going to find with this, and I think they will have to do this. This will have to have a season 2 because I think this is a very stunning piece of work, but by the two men who made Blacklist. This is compelling. It keeps an audience captivated. It has the action, but you need to use your brain. What they'll have to try and work out is what they're going to do to retain that intrigue. Now, this, like many shows, like Preacher, has this incredible beginning. In fact, like a show I just did in England called The Gold, which is about a heist in the 80s. It has this incredible theft of gold at the beginning. And then, well, how do you make the second? How do you make the third? Then they'll be doing it with this, but I hope that they continue to use such exquisite imagination, like a plane crashing full of convicts that you want to follow. Yeah, I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. But that's the difficulty. Which shows last the length of time? Breaking Bad. You know, you have True Detective. It's hard. And it's about the people being passionate about the project that they're making.
Severance.
That's on 2, isn't it?
It's on 2. Is it on?
Is it 3? Maybe.
3,
I don't know. But
2,
it's about. But even to make 10 episodes, this. It's hard to keep a show. It's like a song. It's like an album. It's like it's a film. So a film has acts. The middle one is hard. In the middle of a season, it's hard. How do you get over the brow of that hill towards the end? And when you're talking about seasons, how do you retain the intrigue? And that's always the big.
Is Preacher the Italian?
No.
No. Okay.
Preacher's a DC comic about a man who is a preacher who's got a very bad habit.
Well, on that note, I'm out of time, guys. Thank you so much.
Great talking to you. Thank you.
And I can't wait to see the second season kick off of that spaceship where all the prisoners crash. All right, thank you guys. I'll talk to you later.